I hope you all really enjoyed that. I think we've all learned something from that. We might allow a bit more time for that in future. I've Beast at Buddies normally very well organised sessions, so it's just a bit unfortunate that not the tidal barrier, the sea barrier is up at the moment, which obviously made it all difficult for you. But it's very impressive to see some very athletic delegates. Just a quick little bit of info from me. So if you are, if you are or are not coming to Government House later on this evening, please can you RSVP to Government House to let them know either way if you haven't done so already. The email is government.house@gov.im. That's government.house@gov.im. And just let them know if you're coming tonight or not. That'd be great. Right, without further ado, we'll try and catch up this afternoon. Thank you all for that, and thank you for getting back so quickly. It now gives me great pleasure to hand over to the next chair, which is actually one of our own, our community ranger, wholly funded by Lloyds Bank International, Hannah Phillips.
Lower that. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for making the journey over to the island, and welcome to IIEM. Now on to conservation in our communities, where we're going to talk about how to spread all this important and very interesting information that we've been talking about this morning. So first up, should have looked at this beforehand. Greg Stalker, Outdoor Learning Centre. Thank you.
Cool. Good afternoon, everybody. Today I want to share with you a vision for outdoor learning on the Isle of Man. A vision where every child and young person has the entitlement to connect with nature, to explore, to play, to learn and to grow. At the heart of this vision is partnership, a partnership between the Outdoor Learning Centre and the Manx Wildlife Trust, and together we're paving the way for children across the island to experience the vast benefits of time outdoors. So a little about me. Like Bill said, this morning was very technical, and I am just a guy with a passion for the outdoors who wants to get children outside and connected with nature. So I'm a youth worker by trade, been a youth worker for 23 years, born and raised just over the water there in Cumbria, spent many years on fells, and the result I've got a passion, a burning passion for the outdoors and for adventure. I studied youth work with the Open University and leadership with the University of Cumbria, and the Braid Trust, and the Braid Trust is an outdoor institution across in Cumbria there. And that was my first experience of outdoor learning as opposed to outdoor activity. I worked in various places around overseas and in the UK, but fell in love with the Manx lass, and in 2017 I was brought over, not a come over, there's a very big difference. I was brought over, and I've been with the Department of Education, Sport and Culture within the Youth Service since 2018. And I've been responsible for the redevelopment of the Outdoor Learning Centre since 2023. So the Outdoor Learning Centre, so our vision to inspire curiosity, encourage a love for nature, and empower individuals through hands-on learning experiences in the outdoors. We aim to instill resilience, teamwork, creativity, and lifelong learning by providing inclusive, immersive, and relevant outdoor experiences. The mission is quite simple: to give every child and young person on the Isle of Man an outdoor learning experience, and to foster the understanding of the positive impact nature can have on their learning, health and well-being, which you've heard a lot about today. So the OLC is supported by the Department of Education, Sport and Culture and sits within the Manx Sport, Recreation and Youth Division. Over the last couple of years, it's had significant investment. It was a closed outdoor activity centre called Wallen, which many people from the island will know. It closed down, like many seem to things, because of COVID, seemed to trigger that closure. But the Department of Education had a real vision and passion to reopen it, but reopen it slightly differently, where it became an entitlement for every child to have access to it. So over the last 18 months or so, myself and the team have slowly started to rebuild the site. There's been a lot of YouTube video telling us how to build certain structures and how to build obstacle courses and problem solvings. And hook or by crook, we've kind of got there. And we reopened officially last summer. And in the first year, we had every school on the Isle of Man work with us, all 37 schools, so we're really proud of that. But the site is only about 60% complete, and we've got some big plans coming over the next 12, 18 months, including climbing park, mountain bike provision, and also working on a creativity and well-being space at the top of the site, because we want to make sure that it's not just for young people who are interested in paddleboarding or mountain biking and canoeing, where an outdoor learning experience could mean so much to so many different children. Our programme is a mix of entitlement, targeted and developmental. Our entitlement I'll discuss a little bit later on. Our target support works with all the high schools to provide space and safety for children and young people who are not on timetable or on reduced timetable. And our developmental stuff works across all the youth services across the island. So all the youth clubs come to visit us, and we do a range of different development projects around paddle sports, mountain biking, team building, etc., etc. So why does the outdoor learning matter? So nature builds character. Working as a team to light a fire or to build a shelter requires communication, resilience, and trust. Nature pushes children to develop grit and perseverance, to keep trying even when it's cold, wet, and frustrating. Success in the outdoors builds confidence like nothing else. But it also provides a digital balance. Our children are spending more and more time indoors, on screens, on social media, on YouTube. But nature provides a critical balance, grounds them, slows them down, and reconnects them with reality. We want our children, I want my children, to live for hikes and bikes, not likes and swipes. The WWF did some research last year that just 20 minutes per day in nature can have a significant impact on a child's well-being. And it's not just about getting children and young people up to spaces like we've created, it's about the communities owning the space which they live. So in their schools, their communities, their own gardens, from grey to green. And all these provide essential childhood experiences. Children need to play, explore, problem solve, get frustrated, feel bored, face conflict, take risks, and learn from the consequence. If we shield them from these things, then how will they learn to grow? How will they ever understand risk management if we remove all risk from their lives? The health connection. So my wife is the lead pharmacist for vaccinations here on the island, a very gifted scientist. She often tells me about what she does and how she does it, and I generally smile and nod. A little bit like you would have saw that face this morning with some of the presentations. But she once told me, so she told me a fact a couple of weeks ago from a conference she was at. She said there's two things that have the biggest impact on preventing disease, and they are drinking plenty of water, of clean water, and having a robust vaccination program. So anything that community can do to improve the health of human beings is those two things. And I thought that's so accessible, isn't it? Drinking water. I mean, and because of COVID, vaccinations have been thrust into the light, but it's so accessible. We can improve our health by doing those two things. But that got me thinking around. We consistently hear about the mental health crisis, rising levels of anxiety, ADHD, low self-esteem, lack of social skills. We live in an instant world, instant entertainment, and instant gratification. But there is a vaccine for this too, and nature is that vaccine. At the Outdoor Learning Centre, we see it every week. Children who are quiet and restless indoors thrive when given the space outdoors. Spending 20 minutes in the Manx, wind and rain, which you'll find tomorrow. Trying again and again to light a cotton wool ball with a fire steel is infuriating, it's frustrating. But when that spark finally takes and the children feel the warmth on their hands, the sense of achievement can be life-changing. And actually we've had tomorrow there'll be a group of children from Castella Primary School in the wind and the rain doing exactly that. And the staff, as hard as it is, we won't intervene. We won't tell them how to do it. We won't do it for them because we need them to work it out themselves. We need to get frustrated. We need to have arguments with each other. And that's how you grow, isn't it, by doing those things. Because that is resilience. That is grit. That is growth. And that is learning. So how do we make it happen? One organisation cannot make outdoor learning entitlement entirely. Even on the Isle of Man, there's 11,300 children in our main schools today. So it takes partnerships, it takes organisations that share values and goals and work together. And we've been working on a partnership with the Manx Wildlife Trust for a couple of years now, and that's proof of what's possible. So we've only reached 1 year group so far, and we need to do more, and we will do more. But our goal is simple. Every child, every young person on the Isle of Man should experience the benefits of outdoor learning. So the programme that we've been working on, I apologise for any Manx speakers, is the Larfi Maniac. Any? That's fine, I must have got it right. It means the Manx Wild Day. And so far, every single Year 5 student on the Isle of Man this year and last year has taken part in the programme. The students explore the wild spaces of our site. They work with the education officer from Manx Wildlife Trust, who's taking a picture right now, thank you. And they explore the site, they look at the trees, the bushes, all the birds, the bees, the bugs, and they get muddy, and they make bug hotels and bird feeders. And then with us, they do survival skills like firelighting, cooking food on that fire, and making shelters. They immerse themselves in nature and begin to see the world slightly differently. This isn't just a day out, it's about building a deeper understanding of nature and the world around them and their place within it and the benefits it has on them. We can't change the life of a child in one day, but we might change somebody's journey. That's the way we can look at it. So in closing, if clean water and vaccines protect the body, then the outdoors protects the mind and the spirit. It builds resilience, it fosters teamwork, it balances technology with reality. It gives our children the chance to grow into confident, capable, healthy adults. The outdoors is not an optional extra. It has to be an entitlement. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. That was very inspiring. I love that vaccine, nature vaccine. I think we can all completely understand that. Any questions? Okay, well, I will go first. Matt, see you there.
Yeah, thanks for that. So interesting. I wonder where the kind of departmental, governmental drive for this is coming from. Like, what are the key arguments that convince the department to take this seriously?
I mean, we are blessed on the island to obviously have an abundance of outdoor spaces, and I think everyone who's been brought up on the island will have experienced being outdoors, whether that's just with their school or in their families. So I think there's a shared experience from people who work in the department. I think what we've done at the OLC though is give them a bit of a roadmap, a bit of a pathway of what that might look like. We've given them a vision which they bought into. We haven't just relied on the government, the department to come to us to want it. So I think that vision and that mission almost came first, and we developed a plan and we engaged the right people, and we got, we had the right ministers talking about it. It's a little bit of networking, not gonna lie, you got to play the game a little bit, especially in a small community. But we've given them something that they can really get behind, that's going to reach every single child. So from a reporting perspective from their side, it looks really good that every child is going to have this opportunity. But yeah, it's just a case of having the right people around the table and making sure you've got your vision, your mission right from the start.
So thank you. Any more? The lady in the end.
Just wondering whether there was a particular reason for choosing Year 5. Did you choose Year 5, or was Year 5 sort of chosen for you?
Yeah, we chose Year 5. We wanted to engage with a group that was old enough to be kind of a bit robust in the elements. So a lot of groups do get wet and they get cold, and we haven't got loads of indoor space at the site. And we kind of felt that Year 6 gets quite a lot because of their transition to high school. There's often a kind of an end of year trip or event or residential. So we kind of wanted to create a little bit of a pathway leading into that. So I was talking to a gentleman on my table there about putting kind of a suite of program together for children at different stages in their education. They do certain activities, and we thought Year 5 is a good group because they're often slightly overlooked to some extent. It's kind of forgotten year group because they're not quite the oldest in the school, they're not the youngest. But that might we want to reach every year group. We started with Year 5, but that is just very much the start, and we want to be able to reach every year group long term.
Thank you. Oop. Gentleman over here.
Thank you. I just wonder if you've got any testimonies or experiences from the children that have taken part on this course, if you're willing to share any of that.
To be honest, I haven't, because we see 1,000 kids in a year in this program. We see them for a day. I think if their teacher maybe stood up and discussed it, maybe the impact that it had. The fact that every school has signed up to it in year 2 is a testament that that must mean something. It must be of some value. And what we're seeing though is that schools are now coming to us and actively searching for outdoor learning opportunities. So if nothing else, this program has maybe broken down the barriers to get them through the door and into the site, into the centre. And we've started to develop some quite bespoke programs for certain types of groups, whether that's SPCs, whether that's school refusers, whether that's wellbeing projects. It's, if nothing else, it's give kids a great experience, and actually it could open the door to lots and lots of other outdoor learning opportunities.
Thank you. Fantastic work.
Thank you. How are we doing for time? 1 minute. Are there any more? Oh, Chris? Yeah.
Yeah, I was really interested to hear about your approach to risk. We run a number of playgrounds, quite a few playgrounds, and we've adopted a new play policy recently which talks a lot about risk and exposing children to risk and the benefits of it. I just wondered what's been your experience in kind of taking that forward, and what's the reaction been from management about exposing all these beautiful young children to risk and the potential for them to come to harm?
It's a bloody nightmare. But it's worth doing. So basically, we all know what risk assessments are, and I think if your risk assessments are absolutely robust and absolutely sound, and my advice would be to get advice from external people on risk assessments when it comes to it.
Have you been using risk-benefit analysis as opposed to risk management? Is that an approach?
I guess we have informally. We've not kind of adopted that process, but maybe that's something we maybe need to look into. But yeah, I would say it is a pain, and you'll get question after question after question. But actually, the benefits outweigh. It makes my job particularly challenging, and probably your job. But if that has 1,000 children, then they're able to express and to explore and to develop and grow, and it's worth a bit of stress. So I don't have that. Just it's a bloody nightmare. Good.
I think that's it for time, isn't it? Yeah, I'm getting the nod. Thank you so much. Next up, we have Abigail Castella from Alderney Wildlife Trust. I'm looking at you. There you go.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. You need to bear with me. I'm a little bit nervous, a little bit like Graham this morning, a bit of imposter syndrome. My name is Abigail Castella. I'm the Team Wilder Community Support Officer Lead for the Alderney Wildlife Trust in the Channel Islands. For me to be standing here representing a wildlife trust at an environmentally focused meeting with some incredibly well-achieved people in the room, the irony is not lost on me that I'm not a scientist myself. One of my skills, however, is communicating with the community, the people who very often do not identify with science and who are the very people we need to increase access. As much as I've grown up loving nature, I never felt that science was for me. And that's actually simply not true. And it's taken me 2.5 years to start to understand and unpick that. I've been with the Wildlife Trust for 2.5 years. And in that time, the team that I work with have been a really key part of that process in making the science more accessible to me as a person in the community. As many people will know in the room, and for those that don't, Alderney is an incredibly special place. We have white sand beaches, waters so clear that they span every shade of teal and turquoise, gannets flying high and low from the Noun Colony at Les Attacks, and a small, tight-knit community that fluctuates with tourism and second holiday homeowners throughout the year. This presentation will look at some of the barriers that we face as small islands, the vital importance of becoming more accessible to the community, and some examples of why that's important. So bridging the gap is about ensuring scientific knowledge, conservation and community action are as accessible as possible for a more cohesive and hopeful future. We need the active participation of the community to make a lasting impact to the local environment. And I'd like to thank Greg, wherever he's gone, for his speech, because you kind of set the tone for me in my talk. In Alderney, despite its beauty, like any other island, we have our own significant barriers. A small fluctuating and ageing population, an absence of higher education options, and a broader lack of available learning on island. We have no government department for the environment and little to no legislation or policy in this area. We also, like similar small islands, we have a serious lack of charitable and environmental funding. We also have poor travel connections and the loss of regular extracurricular groups such as Scouts, Girl Guides, and outdoor learning centres. The environment is a key reason why people choose to live in Alderney, but for many, they see no reason to protect it, to understand, nor act for it. However, children are great at taking action. If we're to play our part in tackling the barriers that face our island and our planet, whilst meeting our commitments to protecting biodiversity, we need to find new ways to engage our community and create opportunities to build a connection that is meaningful for them, especially families and young people. So what does meaningful public engagement look like for the AWT? We have reviewed some of our engagement activities throughout the year. We categorised 23 subcategories and we had around 80 plus events throughout the whole year that we deliver. This image here is, and actually sparked quite a lot of debate in the community because the children were drawing their findings on the wall with eco paints from their rock pooling session just before. And it created a little bit of difficulty with some people perceiving this as graffiti or as other means. And actually, it was a really lovely way for them to display their finds and re-embed that learning. And it all washed away. It's not permanent. So this is the scale that we used for reviewing all of our activities. And we found that quite a lot of them were on that low level of informed engagement. And actually what we wanted to get to was more to this side of the scale. When you collaborate, you're able to then inspire. And that really creates this two-way, multi-way and all-way levels of engagement. So for us, the most meaningful engagement is one that builds ongoing relationship, reciprocal conversation, or an opportunity to collaborate with the community. But what else should we consider? For me, I think it's all in a moment. I often look to other cultures with a deeper connection to the earth, and I see moments, stories, and a connection that's passed down through generations in everything that they live and breathe. It's no secret that the United Kingdom is showing some of the lowest rates of nature connection compared with other countries. But how do we change this? With key nature words being removed from the very dictionary that children are learning from, an increase in loss of habitats and green spaces, what's the key? So I invite you to recall a moment of your own that may have led you here today on a long journey through your own qualifications and your own careers. Do you remember the last person you helped find their moment? It's absolutely vital to create equity of access to experience rooted in the natural environment and world that offers opportunities for those moments to occur. We also considered the language that we use. Sometimes scientific language can be jargon heavy and it can be inaccessible, which creates a barrier between us and the general public. Does the language that we use make people feel confident that they're capable of taking part? If they don't understand the terminology or the words or the phrases that we're using, then there's an automatic invisible barrier placed between that experience and that person. By making science more understandable, we can engage more people and connect them and involve them in the vital work that is already being done, as an example in this room. We trialled some of our events with this in mind, and this was some of the feedback that we got late last year. So 100% of young people said that they would be willing to volunteer for their environment and help carry out these activities. So I gave them a list of all of the things that the Alderney Wildlife Trust carry out across their year in volunteering terms. And these were the ones that they chose. To get 100% of young people saying that was really surprising, but also rewarding and empowering to see. Just by coming and doing things like the stories that Greg was talking about, getting them outdoors, building their confidence, getting them exposed to those situations and building their resilience directly means that they are more confident and more capable to actually volunteer and take action. We also asked the parents, and they also said that they were more interested in volunteering. So just by having their young people and their children experiencing those moments, they were then able to see that value. The translated outcome is that we've definitely seen an increase in families getting involved in volunteering activities. I wouldn't say it's 100%, but I will work on that data. So the benefits: by building relationships with young people, you're also building relationships with their parents, guardians, families, and friends. Nature literacy develops. Children become more confident IDing species and navigating the rock pools with care. And that also goes for planting trees and other plants and things. It also increases their understanding of the rock pooling code and the countryside code. Children and young people are far more impressionable than adults. Children are still forming their values and opinions whilst navigating and exploring the world. And they're also our future. So by embedding that learning now, they will one day become people like yourselves in the future. They might become a builder, they might influence policy and other parts of the corporate world. These are some of the things that our young people have said about partly about our activities, but their experience more importantly. I think we can relate to a lot of them, but it's still reassuring to know that children are using these words. We've been running Forest School for 2 years now, and this year, just about a month ago, we ran our most recent programme, and we had 3 children in the first session use the word habitat. These are 6, 7, 8-year-olds. That is not a word that they were using 2 years ago. So, you know, over time, you do see development and you do see an increase of their understanding and maybe bringing in more scientific words. This is Charlie. He is age 9. He was 8 when I met him. He's a capable boy, but he sometimes struggles at school. And often tells me that he cannot read or write. When he attended our forest school, we also noticed some social challenges and barriers, and his self-regulation. However, his enthusiasm and capability to use tools and carry out practical work within the forest school setting shone through. So I took some extra time to create other opportunities where I could bring in that group of young people into our existing activities. That meant that I needed to be there to supervise. However, the benefits paid off. This is Charlie pulling sour fig down on Bray Beach, which is an effort that we do with Angela every year. She brings her GCV team over to us. And this year, last November, we had 4 young people come and support us for the day. They got wet, it was raining, they had litter pickers, we did a beach clean. You see Charlie's litter picker down there, which he absolutely adores. And he absolutely thrives. 2 years on, we've seen his social skills improve. We've seen his capabilities and self-esteem and confidence improve as well. And that also goes the same for his peers. Because of this work and this capability that Charlie had, I awarded him as volunteer champion for this year. Southig pulling in the rain, no problem. Beach cleans, let's go. For a child that struggles to read and write, he does pretty well at identifying shark eggs with the Shark Trust process map. So when they know when to apply it and how to apply it, they're actually far more capable. It also led to the children organising their own beach clean this year with the school, which meant I had to do very little. I didn't even have to advertise or design a poster. They did all of it for me. I just had to rock up with the bags and the receipts. So what will we do going forward? We are going to invite more families and shift to more family-focused events. We have found directly that by bringing the family in as a network, they're then able to experience something as a family. They're doing it together. Quite often, the young people will be very assertive and say, actually, Dad, I'm capable. Please don't do that because I can do it myself. And I think it bridges this new relationship that parents can also see their child's capabilities and also want to increase their opportunities for doing those sorts of things. We also will be trusting more in the young people and their capabilities for that reason, as well as increasing accessibility, targeting focus groups and demographics. I've trialled events for teenagers, girls only, additional needs. I've tried to understand where those needs in the community lie with those young people or with those families. If a family needs a kind of like, my mind's gone blank, sorry. When you're in a workplace and you do like team building, but it works the same for a family. Yeah, so we did a bird box workshop earlier this year. We do it every year. We normally just invite everybody in the public to attend. This year, I actually went to the forest schoolers and invited their parents, and every single unit had a family. And to see them follow through that process as a family unit and to achieve what they did at the end was really powerful. And my last closing words are nature connection. When we consider a scale that every human is included within, we must remember there's opportunity to move along that scale. It may improve, it may dip, but most importantly, we must remember where nature connection begins, with a moment. One awe-inspiring moment of being connected to nature is enough to start us on our pathway to being connected.
Thank you, Abby. That was absolutely brilliant. I think spot on and just perfect after Greg's talk as well. Right, so we'll go to any questions. Okay, I will go first. Once we all okay. So I was just going to ask, I really loved the scale that you had at the beginning where it went from sort of relaying information all the way through to having that conversation and, you know, the community organising style. I imagine that on an island where a lot of the population are going away for many months of the year, that must be more challenging to have that sort of conversation. And people probably expect more typical events where it's you sort of relaying information and sort of leading the activity.
Yeah, completely. And it's sometimes a challenge to find when is the best time of year, therefore, to run engagement activities. You know, through, let's say, late autumn, winter and spring, it's very much the general community and residents that are on island. Some of them choose to go away for the winter because the weather isn't as favourable to them, which I understand. And then in summer, we have a huge fluctuation from tourists and second holiday homeowners and those visiting their grandparents and their great-grandparents. We've trialled one difference this year. Normally, we would do our Wildlife Week in May. And the previous 2 years, that's what we'd done. And I questioned it. So this year we did it the week before Alderney Week, which meant that the majority of tourists were on island. our marine officer, Dr. Mel Broadhurst-Allen, she actually said that that was the most engagement that she'd had for that event. We did a rock pooling shore search, and I think there was something like 43 people that turned up. And on a normal day throughout the year, we'd be lucky to get 5 to 10 at a push. So it's just choosing those different times of year, those different demographics, those different groups. And I'm not going to lie, it's time consuming, but the benefits really do pay off in enabling you to have those conversations. I gave you an anecdote, I think, last night at dinner. There's a lady that came to our marine tank session this year, and she'd been coming to the island for, I think, 42 years and had never been aware of the extent of marine life that we have with our sea stars and our sea hares and our crabs. And she was amazed. And she'd been coming to us for 40 years and had never seen it. So that's for me where it's powerful.
It's like what you said earlier. It's sort of identifying the barriers and then trying to remove them as much as possible. And if you can just choose a different date, then why not?
Yeah, definitely.
Any questions? Rachel?
Sorry.
Thank you. I really, really enjoyed that talk. So I was just wondering, in terms of any barriers to engagement with certain groups you might have, because you spoke a lot about how in the summer there's a lot more tourists, for example. So do you find the tourists or the kind of year-round residents to be naturally more kind of open and engaged to your work, or kind of naturally have a inbuilt level of caring about your island? Is there a difference there?
I would say it's very split, actually. One of the photos that I had there was of a beach clean. We did a CSR day for them last year as an organisation, and then this year they've brought their children and their families and their friends to come and experience Alderney Week, and they just called and said, can we just do a massive beach clean? I freed up my time to go. We did it on a beach that's really messy. Unfortunately, it's borough recycling. We're not allowed to do MCS beach cleans there because it's a bit of a concern. And so that for me was going to be the most valuable experience for them. I could have taken them to the white sand beaches where they might have picked up 3 or 5 pieces of litter, but they actually got like 10 bags of really hefty, and that's where they really get that value. So I like to think that next year, based on that, they feel like they've done something good. They've seen that tangible output. So I think it really varies. It's just about building that consistent relationship in whichever way that you can for them.
Tim?
Thank you. I'd like to link your comments about beach cleaning to also to Bill Dale from the last one. One of the opportunities you get from beach cleaning is to introduce children in citizen science and research. Have you considered analysing the litter that you pick up and where it comes from? And have you thought of drawing on Richard Lord's work from Guernsey?
So for those that don't know, Richard Lord is fascinated by litter, but particularly where these items are coming from, I believe. So if you find something with a label or some identifying feature, he'd love to know about it, and he'll try and track it to its original source. So we do feed into that where appropriate. Again, for me, it's about that scale and that journey of nature connection. So let's say the experience that you've done this afternoon with the children down at the beach, they might be a little bit more that side of that scale. Given their age, given their capabilities, they're still on that scale. What we then did this year was worked with a DV group. And we had a particular group going through their silver and their gold, and we looked at the different things that we could do with them. One of those people did volunteer their time for beach cleaning, and we linked it in with the MCS so that she was then able to start learning about that data, understand how it's being used. So that's where I see that journey, making sure it's kind of somewhat age appropriate, but knowing that there's a next step so that you can support those people to develop their skills and their understanding.
I have one more, but oh no, I'm getting a T. I'm not even getting a nod. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Okay, next up we've got Chris and Suzanne, or just Chris from and Suzanne from Douglas City Council.
It's okay, Suzanne, you're sure you listen. Okay, so we're going to do a double act for you. And we're going to talk about the journey that we've been on, currently on, and kind of where we're heading as well. And I think you'll see that there's been a bit of a change in the council's attitude to the environment overall over the last few years. Okay, so what do I do to move on? Yeah, okay. So I'll start by saying welcome to the city of Douglas. We're probably one of the smallest cities you've ever been to, and I can guarantee probably one of the newest cities as well. So welcome. You'll see that as a historic seaside town, there's been quite a long sort of culture of formal bedding plants and sort of formal gardens. This one actually shows the city of Douglas in text. And here's a postcard from, I think it's from the 1950s, of actually just out here. The council used to own this building until government took it off us. And you'll see an example of the formal bedding there. Now that's basically what the council used to do everywhere. And we still actually produce 87,000 plants in the nursery, which is quite a lot of plants. But I want to tell you about the kind of the evolution that we've had, and I think this photograph is a good sort of example of that. You'll see in the distance there, or the middle ground, lots of very close mown grassland, and we still have a lot of that, much too much of it, I believe. But then in the foreground, the wildflowers. And this was a project that started in 2017, where as officers we started to talk to the politicians about maybe changing from that culture of just having bedding plants everywhere and formal gardens, and to start to introduce more natural planting into the open spaces. And it was a battle. It was a big battle. We started in 2017. It actually wasn't until COVID hit in 2020 that we managed to get the first sort of real beds underway. And it was because there was a lot of resistance, because there was a fear that if we started to let things become more natural, everyone would accuse us of neglecting our parks and open spaces. So there were a couple of measures that we always put in place when we do these kind of projects. And the first one is having a sign. A sign says a lot, because it basically says, we're trying something new here. This is a specific initiative. We're not just being lazy or neglectful and letting things go to rack and ruin. So this is on one of the ways into Douglas from the south, and it's a fantastic show in the summer. The areas that we just let naturalised are more difficult. I think the public came around quite quickly once they saw the first show of wildflowers, and from the early complaints we were getting, and we started getting compliments. And I think we get more compliments now than complaints, don't we? Which is great. But the naturalised areas are the ones that people perhaps don't still quite understand. You can just see the sign bottom there. The other thing we always do is mow around the edge to make sure that it's clear that it has been looked after. About a metre around the edge, and to stop any interference of the plants on the roads and interfering with traffic. We even have wildflowers on the promenade now, and the promenade really is the sort of the crown jewels of the park's estate. So being able to actually have wildflowers on there rather than formal beds has been fantastic. And again, it's gone down really well. So I want to talk about another project as well, which is a good example of how things have changed, how attitudes have changed. So for many years, we ran a community project called Douglas in Bloom. And the whole idea was that people entered their gardens into this community competition and won prizes. I think the whole idea of it was really about colour and, again, formal bedding and that sort of thing. And the guy that owns this garden is actually, or used to be, an employee of the council, and won it virtually every year in his category. But then the number of entries started to drop to the point where the council's response was, let's just add more categories, and then if we add more categories to the competition, we'll get more people entering it. And when I was looking for photographs for this presentation, I came across this. This, believe it or not, won the Judges' Special Merit Prize in 2010. So it was clear that this initiative was starting to kind of get to the end of its natural course. And so we said to the politicians, let's change it. Let's start to move towards something that's more in line with the way we approach our open spaces now. So we came up with the concept of the Dragonfly's Den, which is kind of based on the Dragon's Den, the Dragonfly's Den. So we invite the community to come along and submit projects that we'll help them on. And we work in partnership with Plants Wildlife Trust. They work with every applicant and help them to develop their project up to a point where it can be delivered. I'll get rid of that. It's nasty, isn't it? So this is just an example from last year. This was the school, Henry Bloom Noble School, which is up in the sort of urban centre of Douglas. And this is their playground on this higher level up here. And it's a very hard environment. It's exposed to the sun in the summer and to the wind in the winter, and not really a very pleasant environment for children to play. And so they wanted some help to try and soften it and introduce more planting. So we provided them with tools, with some help. See, is that Hannah? I think you're in that photograph. And then we provided the trees as well, and bark chippings and things. In fact, I think a lot of the trees came from the nursery, the ones that we'd grown from seedlings. So the kids did all the work to help planting. So that's kind of the sort of philosophy. And we're in the second year now, and hopefully that will just continue and help to get more and more members of the community involved. So this is another example of how attitudes have changed. Because Douglas is, and perhaps more in the past was, a seaside resort, looking after the beach has been really important. And we were starting to get complaints about the weeds on the beach. And in the past, our colleagues that used to look after the beach used to just rip out all of the vegetation to keep the beach nice and clean for the tourists. But we persuaded the politicians that we shouldn't, as we're trying to increase biodiversity in the parks, we shouldn't rip out the vegetation on the beach. We should treasure it. And so we're just starting a project where rather than taking it out, we're going to put signs up and just help interpret it for people. In fact, that project's developed so far now that we've put up high security fencing to stop people being able to get onto the beach. I am joking. I have to say, although we own the beach, we don't own the walkway or the seawall or the new fences that have gone up to protect the promenade from flooding. That's the Alderney government. We're on our second zero carbon action plan. We started measuring our carbon footprint in 2018-19. We're currently 17% down on 17-18, so we're heading in the right direction. Probably not fast enough, but we are making progress. And what we are particularly learning is that when we analyse the data every year, it's really interesting to see how little things can make a big difference. So one year our electricians were short of staff and they couldn't put up all the Christmas decorations, so we only did a portion of them. We can actually see the results of that in the electricity use. So our carbon footprint actually went down that year as a result of that. So that gives us a really good example of things we can do to start to reduce our footprint. We have our Bee Friendly Day every year in May on National Bee Day, where we go into the city centre with our friends Bez the Bee and Pooh Bear, and we talk to families and children about pollinators in their gardens, and we hand out wildflower seeds and seed bombs, and we have a Manx Wildlife Trust stall there talking about wildlife, and we invite the beekeepers from the island to come along and sell their wares and talk to people about bees. It's a really nice community day right in the city centre. And then this slide's a bit confusing probably, but this is about a community day we held in one of our housing estates in May this year. Again, Hannah was there helping to talk to people about the potential for wildlife in the area. And we really wanted to talk to people about how all of the green space that surrounds their houses could be used to better effect. So we've got ideas that have come up out of that consultation about the potential to create a linear country park through the middle of the golf course. Here. About more spaces where people can walk their dogs off leads, and about community growing. There's an area here which is just, again, a bit of flat mown grass at the moment, but has the potential to become a really nice sort of village green within the estate, and people were talking about the potential for community growing and all sorts. So it was a really nice event, and we're working that up into a master plan now. Right, I'll hand over to Suzanne now.
Right, I'm just going to mention that for me. This year, one pound again, competition, and now I've got 9 more. Came out just recently to do the assessment on us. We completely share all 9 management plan dues. They came out and assessed us on 5. All right, sorry. Could you? Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, is that better? Okay, so yeah, so we've done that. We've been awarded the 9 Green Flag Awards again this year after the 10th year. Oh, we've got outside. Did I knock that? Oh, go back. Right. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, so we've been successful with the 9 awards again. With the inspector coming out this year, and sorry, I've only been in post 18 months, so this is like a new role for me, really. Meeting the inspector was a fantastic opportunity because I realise now how much we've moved forward so much over the last 10 years, from looking at annual plants to doing all the wildlife planting that Chris has talked about. We've moved so much further down the line, and even meeting him was a great experience for me because it's sort of brought on other ideas now that we can put into these parks as we move forward. So just talking about one of the parks, which is Marine Gardens, we've got 6 gardens as part of Marine Gardens, and Garden 2 is a rockery at the moment. So we've been looking at what we can do with this park in future. So we've been talking to, through Manx Wildlife Trust, soundologists, and we're looking at creating a calm sensory garden for that area. And when we've talked about it in the brief, we've started talking about the biosphere for the island and how we can incorporate that into the theme. So at the moment, we just completed the brief and we're about to take that step further. So as part of that, we obviously, looking at the biosphere, we looked at the different zones, the coastal dune, the woodland, a meadow and wildflowers, and then an edible and scent section, and then a reflective circle at the end of that. And it was all about helping people with their mental health and letting them maybe go through QR codes and look at the senses within each individual zone. So that's something that we're hoping to progress over the next year and hopefully get on site with that towards the end of next year. Beach management, as Chris has mentioned, we do look after the beach. We look after all the seaweed on the beach. We never remove any seaweed off the beach. It's all kept on there to support all the insects and creatures on the beach. We do do some reprofiling of the beach in the central part because of the green drifts coming from the north and the south. So we are doing some works around the area. That tends to be each year just in the central zones. I won't talk about the plants because Chris has already mentioned them, but we've got quite a lot of sea rocket and daisies taking root within the areas, and it always tends to be at the top end of the beach, obviously, and then obviously it gets washed away in the winters, but it does substantially take effect in the summer. Nobles Park Master Plan. This is another area we're looking at the moment. We're looking at a scheme to do a 10-year master plan for the area. We've got a great dog walking area. I'm not sure if anybody's been up there, but it's a fantastic area that supports dog walking and has really got a lot of biodiversity to it. The inspector that came over from Greenflies was pretty impressed with that area of Nobles Park, but we want to address Nobles Park and look at sort of our cutting regimes in the park and whether we can improve that for the future, and obviously the facilities around the area, and make it a bit more accessible for all. Douglas Parks and Open Spaces Strategies was something that I was asked to organise when I first took up post. We've produced that now and it's been approved by the committee. We break it down into 10 priorities and then we look at action plans for each priority. and that's in the actual strategy. So you'll be able to view the strategy from the end of this month online on our Douglas City Council website. I've just listed here all the areas that we cover within the Parks Department, because I don't think people realise quite how much we actually do cover. We only have 48 members of staff that do all this work. It's quite a small team, and the nursery that you mentioned, where we create all the annual plants from, and we've created just over 85,000 this year. We only have 2 members of staff up there that actually coordinate the growing of all the plants and in the greenhouses. So it's quite a task to take on in the summer, and then obviously now we're working on the autumn, getting the autumn plants out. So that's me, really. Thank you.
Thank you both. I work with you a lot, and it's always such a pleasure. And it's lovely to see how you've gone out and listened, how you're listening to the community. And that event at Paul Rose, the community day, was brilliant. And it's great to work with you. Any questions? No. Okay. Oh yes. There we go. We've got Laura over there. Just wait for Marnie to find you.
Hello. Well, it was partly a question, but more of a compliment, really. So I've only been on the island for about 8 years, but even in that time, I've noticed a change in your management regime and noticed more of the wild elements coming in, and that, I find it just a joy, really. And I do love the organised planting as well, the ornaments and stuff. I mean, that is really pretty and has a nice shape. But then to also see how you've mixed in those natural elements, I think it really does reflect well on the city. Who do you get? Do you have like in-house expertise and advice about what to plant up, or do you get people advising you, or like where does that come from?
Yeah, we have that work with me. I have 2 assistant heads of the parks. One's technical and one's services. So the technical guy is a horticulturist who is actually retiring in November, and we were just about to interview tomorrow for a replacement. Yes. So Graham's been with us for nearly 25 years, so he's got a vast amount of experience. He has trained up some of the guys within the department, so we do have good backup within the nursery at Bluffton. So we just need to, I suppose, make sure that those skills are passed on and down the line to the new apprentices that are coming in behind. So yeah, we've got a big task coming up in the next 12 months.
Just digesting the news that Graham's leaving. Yeah.
Retiring.
Retiring, yeah. Any other questions? There's loads of hands popping up now. Rachel and then the lady in yellow.
Hello. I just had a general question about whether you get any inspiration from other areas around the island when working on your own management plans, and also if you've got any work planned in the future to pass on some of that knowledge to the other local authorities on island.
Where are you from?
I'm from the Isle of Man.
Which part?
Kurt Michael.
We don't really, do we? We don't really work with the other authorities very much. I mean, we would like to. I think it's probably fair to say that the scale that we work at is much bigger than the authorities. I mean, I suppose Ramsey perhaps comes very close.
Ramsey comes close to us, yeah. We do work with Onken quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
We have a liaison with Onken, so we do talk to them quite regularly about issues that come in. We try and share facilities as well. If things are going off on island, we need to do training for people, and we need somebody to come over to train. We join up with Onken or Gastown to do training together to make the cost a bit lower for each council.
So we're always open to working with people. So if you know of anybody that would like some advice, we'll be happy to.
Hopefully they will. I went to one of our local authority meetings once and asked about any plans in the future to do more conservation planting, things like that. And they looked at me like I had a square head. Hopefully they'll take some inspiration from you guys because I think you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
Another one about the planting, really. I was just wondering whether you focus on native seeds at all, or do you import a lot of the seed from elsewhere?
Yeah, we do import. We do a bit of both actually. We do a lot of cuts and things in the nursery. So we are trying to do more native. That's sort of been brought in the last 18 months. But we do still have our seeds come across. But we do all our planting seeds, our cuttings within the nursery. So in fact, we do. We're not doing it this year, but normally each year or every 2 years, we're going to start doing the heritage tours. So you can come up to the nursery actually and have a tour around and see the seeding machine going and all the cutting's done. So it's really, I encourage everybody to come and have a look because it is a good tour to take just to get an experience of that.
I think I might say we struggle to get enough local welfare seed.
Yes, we do.
What time are we on getting the tea? I'm so sorry. Okay, thank you both very much. That was brilliant.
Thank you, Hannah. Well done. Another interesting session. So yeah, if we can try and claw back a little bit of time in the break. So if we could ask everyone to be back in their seats at 22, that'd be fantastic. Thank you. Yeah.